This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We could see the potential for wind gusts as high as 60 to maybe even 70 miles per hour.
It always goes down the path to people who are not terminally ill, people who might be depressed.
I'm going up there to support the men and women law enforcement, the men and women who carry that badge and gun every day.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect for dozens of counties across the western half of New York and Pennsylvania. We are officially in the weather bullseye. National Weather Service meteorologist Dave Thomas spoke with WBEN.
Right, strong to severe. I mean, just how strong are we talking? Should we expect those storms?
Yeah, the primary hazard will be damaging wind gusts, strong enough to bring down a tree or damage like siding to a house. Be on the lookout for some large hail and possibly even an isolated tornado.
It is a rare level 3 alert. The front edge of this front already moving over Rochester, Buffalo, Jamestown, Erie, Tityute, and Oil City, Pennsylvania. We've gotten reports of 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. Alerts don't let up until 10 o'clock tonight. Kevin has your forecast coming up in a few minutes. President Trump takes to the stage at 6 p.m. in Detroit, Michigan, marking his 100th day in office. Americans were polled by Fox News and asked, what should the nation's 47th commander-in-chief focus on next?
Go ahead with the tariffs because they're going to work.
More help for the veterans.
Continue to work toward making things more affordable for the middle class.
Try to be more nonpartisan.
He's got to dial it down a little bit and remember to lead for everybody.
The president expected tonight to soften some tariffs on the auto industry. CBS's Nancy Cordes.
What we are expecting is that these automakers would still be subject to those auto tariffs, but they wouldn't be subject to the other tariffs like steel and aluminum. Because if you think about it, right, you're building a car. That's a really important component, and you're sort of getting hit as an automaker one after another.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the White House is continuing negotiations on tariffs with a number of countries, but didn't say which countries are involved. Many businesses across the U.S. are getting low in some supplies while the tariff wars continue.
The shelves are already 40 to 80% empty on imported goods, especially imported goods from Asia.
There was a little drama with Amazon today. The online retail powerhouse had considered adding tariff costs next to products on its website. The White House denounced the move. Amazon says the idea was discussed but never approved. Carney cleans up Canada. Liberal Party leader Mark Carney has won the prime minister's race in a campaign that was dominated by U.S. politics.
President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen.
The election was heavily influenced by President Trump's tough talk toward Canada. While Liberals won the prime minister's race, it remains to be seen whether they'll own an outright majority in Parliament. Faculty and students at Columbia University have wrapped up a 25-hour speak out for academic freedom. CBS reporter Michael Wallace.
Columbia is complying with the Trump administration's demands to have hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding restored. That's not going over well with many on campus who lashed out at the university's board of trustees.
Has been complicit in some agreements that we're not necessarily all in agreement about.
Social work professor Susan White.
We are in a crisis. Our funding has been cut.
Columbia says its actions will preserve its independence.
The Trump administration says funding will be yanked for schools that don't stop protests that proliferate terror propaganda or the harassment of Jewish students. In Rome, May 7th is the day the conclave will begin to select a new pope. Reporter Delia Gallagher.
In the last two conclaves, a pope has been chosen within 2 days, so we could expect perhaps something similar, but you never know, of course. This is probably going to be some big shoes to fill.
Oops, an F-18 fighter jet is at the bottom of the Red Sea after tumbling off an aircraft carrier. CBS reporter Charlie D'Agata at the Pentagon says an investigation is underway.
The nearly $70 million jet was being towed on
on the hangar deck of the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft when the crew lost control, causing the F-18 to plummet into the Red Sea. So I was told they were able to jump clear. All personnel have been accounted for. Not immediately clear why the crew lost control of the fighter jet.
The state of Texas is looking to crack down on the sale of mail-order abortion drugs.
An estimated 20 to 30,000 abortion pills are shipped into Texas every year.
State Representative Jeff Leach is sponsoring a bill that lets Texans sue out-of-state companies that peddle abortifacients.
They'll show up on your doorstep in a nondescript package. Very little to no information about potential complications and side effects.
Leach says human traffickers are some of the leading purchasers of mail-order abortion drugs. And there's a new study on processed foods like nacho cheese dip, pop, chips, and cereal. CBS reporter Vicki Barker.
The researchers found premature deaths linked to the consumption of ultra-processed foods were lowest in Colombia, 4%. They were highest in the U.S. and the U.K. More than 13.5% of all premature deaths were linked to eating too many foods high in fat, salt, sugar, artificial sweeteners, and other additives.
Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, an update on storm warnings. Doctor-assisted suicide is now before the New York State Assembly, and Pennsylvania expands online gaming. Those stories after weather with Kevin Williams.
Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Very active late afternoon and evening across the area as a cold front moves through, complete with flash and splash, showers and thunderstorms. In the wake of that front, the skies will clear, the air will cool, and a bright, crisp day returns for tomorrow. In the meantime, thunderstorms and showers this evening. Some thunderstorms containing, on a localized basis, damaging wind gusts, hail, and drenching downpours. Overnight tonight, leftover clouds, a couple of showers in parts of eastern Pennsylvania. Breezy, cooler, low temps, upper 30s and 40s. Tomorrow, much cooler than it was today, mostly sunny. High temperatures, mid-50s to mid-60s. Thursday, some sun, then clouding up, late day and nighttime showers. High temperatures Thursday in the 60s and lower 70s.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, severe thunderstorm warnings out until 5:15 if you're in the western edge of New York or Pennsylvania. Warnings were just issued moments ago for Wayne, Cayuga, Oswego, and Ontario counties. There was also a wind gust logged in Pennsylvania on Interstate 70 between miles 0 and 11 at 80 miles an hour. Checking the radar, cities east of Rochester taking a beating at this hour. So is Titusville, Pennsylvania, and the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. The front edge of that storm just making its way into the western edges of both states with damaging thunderstorms, flash flooding, hail. Tony and Sweeney with the National Weather Service in Buffalo.
With some of these stronger thunderstorms, we could see the potential for wind gusts as high as 60 to maybe even 70 miles per hour.
Severe thunderstorm watches will be in place until 10 o'clock tonight. A doctor-assisted suicide bill just hit the floor of the New York State Assembly this afternoon. The bill would allow mentally competent, terminally ill adults with no more than 6 months to live to request prescriptions to take their own life. Bill Donahue is with the Catholic League. He says suicide laws lead to abuse.
It always goes down the path to people who are not terminally ill, people who might be depressed. For example, in Colorado, there's no provision to screen for depression. It always gets to the more vulnerable people, and that's what's dangerous about this.
The New York Families Foundation says the bill advanced through the Health and Codes Committee yesterday and the Assembly's Rules Committee today and will be up for a vote before the full Assembly soon. Pennsylvania just joined the online poker marketplace. Governor Josh Shapiro signed an agreement making PA the sixth member of the multi-state internet gaming agreement. It's an expansion of online gaming that will open the door to 150,000 more online poker players in PA. The long-delayed New York State budget appears to be a done deal. Lawmakers and the governor have reached an agreement in principle on a $254 billion spending plan. Family Life's Mark Webster has more.
It includes billions in new spending, criminal justice and mental health law changes, and a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in state classrooms. Albany will also be dishing out money to residents in the form of a low and middle income tax cut, expanded child tax credits, and stimulus-style checks of up to $400. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Border czar Tom Homan is in Rochester, New York today. He's showing support to police officers who were disciplined by Mayor Malik Evans for violating Rochester's sanctuary city policy.
They did the right thing. Law enforcement responding to emergency assistance from law enforcement. So I'm going up there to support the men and women law enforcement, the men and women who carry that badge and gun every day. They're working the streets at 2 a.m. while we're all sleeping.
The Rochester cops helped Border Patrol agents arrest several illegal immigrants during a traffic stop in March.
I don't think any elected mayor should want public safety threats, those illegally in the United States, public safety threats walking through the community. The communities don't want public safety threats walking around their communities either. And that's what it's all about, and that's why I'm going.
The cops in question were suspended and forced to undergo sensitivity training. Next at 5, hometown heroes with our own Mark Webster. April is Child Abuse Awareness Month. Pastor and counselor Michael Bruno deals with it head on at Abba Ministries Counseling Center in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. He sits down with our own Mark Webster. Let's listen in.
I think now is never before. It's not just in the cities in our country, it's in the suburbs, and it's big money. But I think with the pornography industry, for example, the magic age seems to be 14. The kids are abducted, and one girl can make it $200,000 in the first year. Now it usually goes down as she gets older. Mm-hmm. Now it might be hard to believe, but they have people that are waiting for kids. They're ordered. It's very prescribed. Some of it's from gangs. It's very well organized. The kiddie porn industry has grown exponentially. Many kids coming in. They're 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. It's horrendous, but it's real. I can give a testimony of a girl trafficked since she was 3. I think we got her when she was 14. The person that did it was put in jail. That's not always the case, but hadn't talked, I believe, for 2.5 years. Delayed speech, and assistant director. She's a great counselor. It took about a year for her to say her first words, but now, she's walking with Jesus. It's very, very powerful. At the same time, she went through a lot, as most of our kids. A lot of times they have to have a GI tube put in them because they've been mutilated to a definite degree inside. Most counseling centers either don't feel equipped or they just don't want to do it because it's 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. Thank God we've never lost anybody to suicide, but we've had suicide attempts, right before counselors because these kids have gone through so much. It's a different type of counseling. It's difficult. But again, I always say, but Jesus. Those 2 words.
Exactly.
But Jesus.
Yeah. How else do you touch someone who's been abused from 3 years old? It has to be Jesus.
Yeah, it is. It's shameful. But again, the kiddie porn industry, I don't even understand that, to be honest with you. But like it or not, it's very prescribed. Someone goes in to watch regular porn, then it gets worse and worse and worse to this. We're talking maybe $1 trillion, and there's billions and billions and billions of dollars.
You can subscribe, listen to, and share Hometown Heroes and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
Don't forget what the Lord has done. Hi, I'm Rob West with a Faith and Finance Minute. God made a way for the Israelites to leave Egypt, where they'd been in slavery for centuries. He even parted the Red Sea to rescue them. But before long, the Israelites were complaining. Rather than humbly asking God in faith to provide for their needs, they complained. It's easy to be critical of the Israelites, but we're very much like them. God has provided for each of us in marvelous ways, and yet, like the Israelites, we're more apt to complain about our current situation than to trust. So today, choose gratitude over grumbling. Trust that the same God who has provided for you in the past will continue to meet your needs. He is faithful yesterday, today, and forever. Get biblical answers to your financial questions in the Faith Fi community. Download Faith Fi, Faith and Finance in your app store or visit faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, the mailman that delivered some mail that was on the ground. That story after one last check of the wild weather today.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Very active late afternoon and evening across the area as a cold front moves through, complete with flash and splash, showers and thunderstorms. In the wake of that front, the skies will clear, the air will cool, and a bright, crisp day returns for tomorrow. In the meantime, thunderstorms and showers this evening. Some thunderstorms containing, on a localized basis, damaging wind gusts, hail, and drenching downpours. Overnight tonight, leftover clouds, a couple of showers in parts of eastern Pennsylvania. Breezy, cooler, low temps, upper 30s and 40s. Tomorrow, much cooler than it was today, mostly sunny. High temperatures, mid-50s to mid-60s. Thursday, some sun and clouding up, late day and nighttime showers. High temperatures Thursday in the 60s and lower 70s.
And the wind and the hail pretty significant out there tonight. Take it easy. Finally at 5, kindness and honesty don't generally cost anything, but you might say it cost Michigan postal carrier John O'Hara $10. That's what he found in a driveway as he walked up to deliver Sarah Hudick's mail. Rather than snag the sawbuck, he guessed it was hers and dropped it in her mailbox along with a quick note, an honest act that left an impression on Sarah.
That says, "I found this in your driveway," and I'm like, no way. That's like the sweetest thing.
John says the nice thing about kindness is that it's contagious.
If you can make somebody smile or you can help somebody in any way, even being support to be there for them, do it. You got a neighbor who's grieving, drop over leftover food and tell them you're here. You make one person smile, then that spreads to another, and it's just a ripple effect.
A very special delivery from a Michigan postal carrier. And that's the world that we live in for Tuesday, the 29th of April. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.